because your interest rate could fluctuate just like your credit score is fluctuating. So make sure that you are a clear steward over your credit report and your credit cards when it comes to your debt utilization when it comes to those things. So take a look. It is halfway through the show. I can't believe it. I got some shout outs to do today for sure. Looks like it's a Greek day when it comes to shout outs. So I'm going to do some shout outs, and then it's halfway through the show. So of course, it's time for the question of the day. And the question of the day is brought to you by Cute as a Cupcake, Cupcakery and Bake Shop, where the cupcakes are more than cute, they're delicious. Cute as a Cupcake is located at 2008 West 81st Street in Maryville, Indiana. You guys get by Cute as a Cupcake. So our question of the day comes from Andre out of the state of Washington, and it's about credit cards. So Andre asks, well, here's the scenario. His credit card company continues to raise his credit limits without his permission, without prior authorization or his consent. He wants to know if he should be concerned. So, Andre, that is a great question, especially knowing all of the things that you know from listening to the 800 Credit Score Man show about, how this could affect you. So here's my take and point of view on that. If the credit card company is not pulling a hard inquiry on you, then it's not affecting your credit score in that manner. And they are not. They're not going to pull a hard inquiry on you without your permission, without you applying and giving them access and authority to do so. So what they're basing their decisions on is the way that you are paying them. And then they do some soft inquiries, kind of like if you don't have a credit card with somebody, but you get that offer in the mail, or you get that offer in the mail from a car place that you haven't been to in 10 years, and they're saying, come on in, you've been pre-approved for something. Those are soft inquiries. They aren't looking directly at your credit report, but they're basing it off of what they've experienced with you in the past. So there are companies, of course, out there that are looking into all of those things, and that's what they're basing it off of. So, and they're raising your credit limits. Now, the question from Andre also brought up, excuse me, the question from Andre also brought up about mortgages. Oftentimes, or at least in the past, it appeared that mortgage companies didn't like for you to have a lot of available credit. That may hurt your ability to go ahead and getting a mortgage. And that's definitely, that's not necessarily the case anymore. I just don't know that they are doing the things that they were in the past. In the past, some mortgage companies would make you basically pay off and close out some accounts. They now know, and we now know, that can negatively affect your credit score. So they're not necessarily requiring that. I can imagine that some of them are still, and especially in specific cases where it's iffy, if you will, if a person should be granted a loan or not, they may require people to do those things. Or if your debt to income ratio, which is different from your credit card utilization, is short or close, they may still require those things. But to me, if your credit card company is constantly giving you additional credit, it sounds like that Andre has good credit. It's a good steward over how he pays his bills, and that shouldn't be an issue for you at all. So I want to thank you, Andre, from the great state of Washington, for becoming a part, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man show family. I really do appreciate it. And you guys get over to Cute as a Cupcake over in Maryville, Indiana. Again, the address is 2008 West 81st Street. And let me tell you something about this Cute as a Cupcake. Now, I'm on here every Saturday, Facebooking people and, taking inquiries and talking to clients. And I've had a couple of people call me, not to say thanks for the information that I've given them to help them with their credit scores, but they call me to say thank you for telling me about Cute as a Cupcake, because those cupcakes were so good and so delicious that they, when they stopped by Cute as a Cupcake. So you guys, do yourself a favor. Go to Cute as a Cupcake, Cupcakery and Bake Shop, 2008 West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. All right, so thanks a lot. I appreciate that, Andre, and keep listening and sharing this information with your friends and your family. All right, so let's do some shout outs right quick. All right, let's do some shout outs. So I want to shout out Teresa King. Teresa, a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Birthday was this week, so I want to give her a shout out. Happy birthday to you, Teresa. And then I want to give a shout out to the 7 Fantasies. These ladies from Zeta Phi Beta at Indiana University, fall of 1993. I want to give you guys a big shout out to the 7 Fantasies of Zeta Phi Beta, right there at Indiana University, fall of 1993. That was a great year for Greeks at Indiana University. So congratulations on your Zetaversary. All right, so let's jump into some statistics right quick. Now, this really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the fluctuations, but I found this information when I was doing research for this particular show. And so some new statistics say that 2% of people can actually name the 3 credit bureaus. Now, I was shocked by that only 2% of people can actually name the 3 credit bureaus. Now, if you listen to me at any point in time, I probably say these 3 names at least once, twice, every show. So it was surprising to me that only 2% could name Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. But only 2%. So count yourself, in the know. If you know that it's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, count yourself in the know, because only 2% of people could actually name the 3 credit bureaus. Then, one that I really wasn't that shocked about is that 3% of people don't know what their credit score is. And they have no clue what their credit score is. So 3% of people, don't know it. Only 3% actually know what their credit score is. Now, I wasn't that shocked about that one, simply because 33% of people have never even checked their credit report at all. So if a third of the people haven't even checked their credit report at all, then the ability for them to actually know what their score is very low. So only 3% of people know what their credit score is. So if you know what your credit score is, and if this isn't the first time that you're listening to the show, I bet that you know what your credit score is. So count yourself again in the know, because you're listening to the 800 Credit Score Man show. All right, you guys. So thank you very much for hanging in there with me. Let's get to a last couple of points about why your credit score fluctuates, and maybe some of the things that we can do about it. So number 5, this is something that you can't do, that you cannot do anything about it. Formula changes. So when I say the credit scoring system, FICO is the one that most people utilize. 90 to 95% of creditors utilize the FICO scoring system. That's the Fair Isaac Corporation, FICO. So they use them. There are changes to their formula. I mean, what they're trying to do is to be more accurate when it comes to being an indicator of risk, if that person actually going to pay us back or not. So that's what FICO does. So they change their formula often just because, they're trying to, get it right in a sense. They want to make sure that Andre from Washington is going to pay them back. What's the likelihood that he will go ahead and pay them back versus, what's the ability for Kevin to actually pay them back. So that's what they're doing, and their formulary changes could have an impact on your credit score, because maybe you were borderline, or maybe whatever they changed just wasn't a positive change for consumers. And so that's one of the reasons, and something that you can't do anything about are the formulary changes. FICO is on, I want to say, maybe version 10, or maybe it's version 9. some places are still utilizing FICO version 3. So think about it with, with your iPhone. iPhone is on 7. It's iPhone 7. But if you are working off of iPhone 3, your stuff is slow. It may not be as accurate. It might be some apps that you can't get, things of that nature. So think of it like that. And they're changing their formulas often to try to make it right and to calculate that risk when it comes to that. And FICO isn't the only person out there. Of course, there's like Vantage. Even Vantage is on, and that's by the different credit bureaus. Vantage is even on version 3 or 4, something of that nature. So some of those formulary changes do affect us, sometimes negatively, sometimes positively. Just depends on where you are in that particular spectrum. So the absolute last thing that I want to tell you guys about today when it comes to your credit score and it fluctuating is something I saved for last so I can thoroughly confuse you. And then you have to contact me and say, what in the world are you talking about? So the last thing I want to say, so we talked about the formulary changes. But also, if you don't know, and most people don't know this for sure, especially if only 2% of people can name the 3 credit bureaus, they absolutely don't know this. Within the credit scoring system, FICO, Vantage, whoever it is, there are scorecards. Now, I call them buckets. Last week I mentioned buckets about, something we were talking about last week, you being placed in a particular bucket. So scorecard hopping. Now, this isn't you. This is the credit bureaus putting you in different categories. So FICO has different ways of evaluating people and different types. They don't let us know that. They're keeping that as secret, what these buckets are. They want to keep them secret. It's like the KFC formula. They're keeping it secret so nobody else can copy it. And that's how they stay in business. So there are scorecards, and there could be 70 different scorecards. And so one that we do know exists is, say, a bankruptcy scorecard. So if you've ever filed bankruptcy, you're in a scorecard with other people that have filed bankruptcy. So since you're in that card and say you're doing on average better than most, then your credit score is going to be higher than people in that particular category. But your score is, and then your score is going to be elevated as well when somebody just looks at it and evaluates it because you're doing so well. Say they move you from the bankruptcy one. So they move you from the bankruptcy scorecard, and now you're in a different scorecard with people that have never filed bankruptcy. So you would assume that people that haven't filed bankruptcy scores may be higher initially anyway. And now your credit is being evaluated and compared to those people instead of people that had filed bankruptcy before. So now your score could be lower because you dropped out of that one bucket into another bucket. And there are so many different buckets that it's difficult for anybody to pinpoint. And that's the whole point of FICO not giving out that information. So we don't know it and we can manipulate the system in itself. So that's what happens when it comes to fluctuation and your credit scores. First thing, if you see something that fluctuates, evaluate your credit report. Take a look at it. Then you are going to look at your inquiries under that. You want to check for late payments. And then, of course, any collections and judgments. Aging of a negative item was something else I brought to you about your credit score fluctuations. The aging of something, if it has fallen off your credit report or it's getting close to falling off your credit report. Again, those inquiries, they're going to affect you 2 to 4 points, and it's going to happen right away. The changes in your revolving debt and your credit card utilization, make sure you stay on top of those things. And then if there's any formula changes as well to FICO, if they're changing it from version 5 to 6, 7 to 8, whatever it is, those things could help, could make your credit score fluctuate. And then again, this scorecard hopping. Scorecard hopping is something that's frustrating to consumers as well as people that, grant credit, because somebody may be good in 1 month and then they change scorecards and not be as good the next month. So make sure you stay tuned. Again, time is on your side.